Good evening, Morgan Hill. How are we doing tonight? There are a lot of you here. This is great. We hopefully have enough cookies and coffee for all of you in the back. And there's water, not bottled water. My name is Mike Potter, and I'll be your MC tonight. And welcome to our public meeting about the Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit project. We'd also like to welcome those joining us over Zoom. There's over 30. This meeting is being recorded. For anyone who couldn't participate tonight or who simply wants to review it, you can watch it on Valley Water's YouTube channel. For those on Zoom who would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen instead of the chat box. It's hard to follow for us, and staff will respond to your questions at the end of the presentation. We'll unmute you as well if you want to ask a question verbally. Tonight, our presenter will give you the latest project status and environmental review of the project and its environmental review process. Following the presentation at around 7:30, there will be a question and answer period before the meeting adjourns at 8. The purpose of tonight's meeting is for community members to understand project updates, to discuss community comments submitted in response to the draft environmental impact report, and provide feedback on construction impacts. A few housekeeping items for our attendees here in the Morgan Hill Community Center. The restrooms are located outside these doors or out the hallway there. We also have refreshments at the back of the room. Following the meeting, we ask that you please fill out a brief survey that was included with your materials as you came in. These are super valuable for us as we plan our meetings. And now I'd like to introduce your director, John Varela. He's a member of the Valley Water Board of Directors, and he represents this area and the area where the project is located. He was first appointed to Valley Water's board in December 2015 and has been re-elected by the voters 3 times to represent District 1, which includes Gilroy, Morgan Hill, unincorporated San Martin, and parts of East and South San Jose. How's that? And he's a former mayor and council member for the city of Morgan Hill. Please welcome John Varela.
Thank you. Hello, Morgan Hill. Boy, am I happy to be here tonight. Look at this crowd, smiling faces. That's what I like to see. You know, I know many of you are going to meet for the first time probably tonight. We moved to Morgan Hill. My family moved here in 1976. It was a small little hamlet back in those days, believe it or not so long ago. So we've been here almost 50 years in this town, seeing many things happen. The growth of this community has been phenomenal. During the days that I was on the board of the city council and mayor, we were able to acquire property down in the downtown area, purchase that property through the redevelopment agency that we had back in that timeline. And we held that property for a while until we sold it. It was mandated by Governor Brown at that time. You must sell those dollars, all we had. We had about $23 million that we had. So we were able to sell those properties, buy those properties and sell them back to developers. And now you see what is happening in downtown Morgan Hill. It is a destination location. And I'm proud to say we had a little bit of something to do with that back in that time. So from then to now look what I'm involved with. Water. The essential of life, the sustainability of life is water and food. And we're involved with both of those because we're also working with the agricultural community in this region and air that we breathe. Because we feed the trees take the terrible elements that they dissolve and put that back into fresh oxygen. So in essence, I'm involved with the sustainability of all our lives, water, food, and the air we breathe. Tonight, we're going to talk about a major project that we're all invested in. And this is the biggest, most important project that we manage at Valley Water. And by the way, I just want to honor tonight, Mayor Mark Turner is in the room. And I want to say hello to Mr. Turner. Thank you, Mr. Turner, for being here tonight. And I think joining us online, 2 of our directors, Director Barbara Keegan and Director Richard Santos are also joining us via Zoom. So they're going to give you a report card later on how I did. But I don't want to dominate it too much. We have the exits here to talk about, but just to let you know, Anderson Dam is our single most important project that we have invested dollars for you and with you. And we have the experts here to share with you the progress, the update of what's happening, and to listen to your questions and hopefully give you the answers that you want to hear tonight. So with that, I'm going to give this back to Mike Potter, and we'll be back at you later with to answer any of your questions. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Director Varela. Tonight's presentation will be started by Valley Water's Ryan McCarter, who is the Deputy Operating Officer for Dam Safety and Capital Delivery. Ryan, come on in. The floor is yours. All right, thank you, Mike. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ryan McCarter, as Mike mentioned. So we're going to go through the presentation here. The clicker knocked down here on the floor. We'll pick that up. And we'll get going on the slides here. So I wanted to do just a brief recap of what we're going to go over. So first, I'm going to give a quick presentation, just an update on the project. I'm sure many of you have been following the project and were here last year when we did some pretty good extensive updates on the project, in both the current Anderson Dam Tunnel project that's going on, as well as the Seismic Retrofit project to come. But I'll go through that relatively quickly. We'll have a brief kind of overview of our environmental review process by Wendy Young. And then we're going to go into these three issues you see, the wildfire emergency access, Rosenden Park closure, and the feral pig. So we're going to try to spend more time on those. And we have some slides and some subject matter experts that will come up here that will help answer questions during those slides. So I'll run through my presentation first on where we're at with the project. It's just a few slides. There's also some poster boards in the back that you can see there, with kind of give some overview of the project and what's going on. Okay, so just a quick recap of the Anderson Dam Tunnel project. This is what's in construction now, currently. So we completed the tunnel, this red portion you see here. This is the excavation portion of the tunnel where we use conventional machinery to excavate a very large diameter tunnel, about 24 feet in diameter. It's like an upside down horseshoe shape. And so this is going to be our diversion system for the water in the reservoir to pass underneath the dam and then out into Coyote Creek during construction of the dam retrofit project. So it was a great milestone to complete this back in February, to get all that excavation done, and it looks really nice. I'll show some pictures in a few slides. So the next portion we have to do for the tunnel is this last 350-foot section here. This is called the micro tunnel lake tap. We're actually going to be driving a 8-foot diameter drill from inside the tunnel that we excavated out into the reservoir. So we'll be tapping into the water about 30 feet below the current water surface. So pretty intricate machinery, very high-tech stuff. It's going to be really exciting. So that's going to start in July, and I'll show you some photos of what that machine looks like. They're also on the poster board in the back there. And also the outlet structure here. So this is a pretty major structure. It's a big concrete box. It's like really, really big. We've been working on that. I've provided some updates in the past on that. We're getting pretty close to completing that. We're going to be pouring the roof slabs, the concrete on the roof of that, just next week. So actually, you might see a public notice go out, because we're going to do another big concrete pour. I think it's next Wednesday. So I'll talk about that a little bit and show you a photo of our progress there. And then we're also currently working on the north channel reopening. So this is the channel that the water will get released from our tunnel into on the outside, and then it will flow through this enlarged channel. And actually the north channel has been blocked ever since they built the dam. So currently all the water flows from the dam to the south channel unless it comes down the spillway and accesses the channel. So it's been blocked just because they kind of filled in the creek when they built the dam and never really opened that up. So that's part of this project, and we're working on that right now, the grading and also the weir that will go in place there. So we'll share some photos here what the tunnel looked like during construction. So this is kind of the fork we have in the tunnel. The water will flow right out here, out the tunnel, kind of this direction. And then we also have this leg here that comes off, called a low-level outlet leg. So that will get used in the retrofit project. So this won't get used now with the diversion, but we'll tie into this later. We'll have a separate pipe system that will use that portion of the tunnel. But just wanted to show kind of the size of this. This is almost 60 feet across from here to here. So this is really, really amazing engineering and construction that they did here. All went pretty well. So glad to have this stuff done. And then this is just a shot of what the finished tunnel looks like. So they go back and do a shotcrete finish. It's a spray applied concrete. And they do a nice finished wall here. So you can see what that looks like. I kind of call it the wine cave. I feel like I've seen wine caves that look kind of look like that. So they did a great job. Looks great, ready to have some water go through it. And on the right here, you can see just this curve and kind of what the walls look like inside the tunnel. That's a slippery sucker. All right, so here's the micro tunnel boring machine.
On the right, you can see this is the machine coming off the truck. This is 8 feet in diameter, so this isn't humongous. This isn't like something that's gonna build a new subway system like we have coming from the BART extension in San Jose, but this is 8 feet in diameter, and this will drill out into the reservoir. It has a pressurized system, pumps the slurry into the face of this machine. This is the cutter head. You can see all these teeth on here, and really just controls the excavation as it turns and moves that material out. And while it's cutting that material, it'll be pushing sections of pipe in behind it at the very end of the tunnel. So that's how it advances through that 350 feet. So it kind of works like a caterpillar. And then here you can see some of the other components of the machine. This is a hyperbaric chamber, and then some more mechanical components that will go in the machine just behind that. So just wanted to show what that looks like. We're really excited about that. This just showed up on site 2 weeks ago, and we're looking to launch this in July. And this is the entrance to the tunnel. So this machine will go in 1,400 feet from here and then start drilling back in that section into the reservoir. Here's that diversion outlet structure I was mentioning. So you can see this back in November 2022, there was just the excavation going on and getting ready to prepare the foundation. And you can see the progress we made in February. You can see these large tall walls here. These are about 35 feet tall. These are 11-foot diameter openings that the pipe will split off into, both of these. And this structure helps dissipate the energy of the water as it comes out of the tunnel. This is a large amount of water coming out. You've probably seen along Cochrane Road, the 4-foot diameter pipe. And when that's really going, how much water comes out of there? These are 2 11-foot diameter pipes that will be putting out even more water. So you can imagine it needs a lot of energy dissipation. And we've actually completed the wall on the front since this picture was taken, and we're working on the roof now, but the back stays open as you see here. Okay, so this is the north channel excavation. This is looking out where the water will flow out of the tunnel and out of the diversion outlet structure. And you can see on the left here, this is the Coyote Creek in the south channel, and we actually built a dike here to cut off what was part of the north channel in this section here, and then it kind of stopped. So what we're doing is reopening this whole portion here, but in order to do that, we need to have a dry work area. So we cut off the water from this section here, and it's diverting through the south channel for now. And you can see all this pipe system, all these PVC pipes. This is all dewatering. There's a lot of groundwater, as you could expect, near the creek. So when we make this deeper excavation, we have to pump out all that water. So lots of work going on in there. There's a large weir that will be used to control the flows and dissipate some more energy as the water comes out of the tunnel. So we're working on that pretty heavily this summer. So if you're driving through the Live Oak Park area, you'll probably see this going on. A portion of the Live Oak picnic park area has also been closed while this construction is taking place this summer. Okay, so that brings us to our environmental review process update. I'm Wendy Young. She's our Dam Safety Environmental Services Manager to give an update on that.
Hi, so we've had some project updates since we released the draft DIR. We had to extend construction hours, and we had to extend, so that means that we would be doing more work overnight. And we also have more weekend hours. And the reason why we made these updates was because in looking at the feasibility of actually taking this dam all the way down and putting it back up, the number of hours that we had originally allocated for this job couldn't do it in time, particularly in year 4, where the bottom of the dam will be at the lowest elevation, and it has to go all the way down and then go all the way back up. And so for flood protection, we had to increase the number of hours that construction will take place out on site. And so we are going to be partially recirculating the EIR. So what that means is the entire EIR will go back out for public review, but the key sections that are going to have changes to impacts will be released. And those are air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, noise, and aesthetics. And so we're working on that right now. And so we're also going to be updating the project description. So the very beginning of the EIR that goes through all of a description of all the work that will happen, that section will be updated to reflect the new hours. And it'll be easy to see the changes that have happened in the partially recirculated EIR versus what was the draft EIR versus what was originally released. It's all underlined, and it's easy to pick out from the original text what has changed from what was originally released. So there's another public review period that will happen. We're aiming to release the partially recirculated sections of the EIR August 1st. There'll be a 45-day public review period, and that's where everyone can make comments, and then we'll do another response to comments time like we're doing right now for the rest of the draft EIR. So originally we were looking at releasing the final EIR in August, but right now with the changes in the project description, we're going to be doing the partially recirculated EIR in August, and then we'll be looking to release the final EIR in February of 2026. 2025. And so what that means for your, the comments that you made on the original draft EIR, I know that you haven't seen responses to those, but as part of the CEQA process, that's what we're doing right now. So we're working on those responses internally at Valley Water, and they'll be incorporated into the final EIR, and all of the responses will be available for the public to review when that document is released, including the partially recirculated comments that we received. And so, like I said, our final EIR is looking to be released now in February 2025, and that supports the planned construction schedule to start in April of 2026. So even though the CEQA schedule bumped back a little bit, it doesn't change our ability to obtain regulatory compliance permits for the project, and the the construction schedule is still holding. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Mike.
Thank you, Ryan and Wendy. So as Wendy said, Valley Water received community concerns about many topics during the environmental review process. The top three were about wildfire response, Rosenden Park, and feral pigs. We'd like to discuss those three topics tonight and take them in order with with a panel of subject matter experts. So I'd like to invite them to join us up front. Carlos Alcantar with CAL FIRE. And Eric Ross from the Santa Clara County Parks. If you could come on, join us up here at the panel, and we will get started. To bring the microphone to you to ask questions about wildfire. We're going to start off with that topic. Any hands for people that have questions? Here we go.
So we gave you the Holiday Lake Estates gave you the SCC Park's own annex regarding their ability to evacuate through Rosamond Park. And my understanding from CEQA is that it was concerned merely with the physical reality that you could, in certain circumstances, evacuate through Rosamond Park if you had to. There's just really, it's well known that there's not enough egress capacity off that hill, both as a single point of failure where radiate heat you die, basically. And then the second one was so there's the single point of failure. There's also a capacity issue of how quickly this is from Dwight Good about not being able to, a wildfire spreading from Holiday Lake Estates and Jackson Oaks in 3 hours, and it taking longer than that to get the people off the hill, which is the same result. So there are other things there, but Rosenden Park, from a CEQA perspective, my understanding is the physical connectivity is what counts, rather all this legal stuff. I mean, people are going to do what they need to do to survive, but if it's physically obstructed, that's a problem.
I've done a question, but
Well, I guess it's a CEQA question without it even having, is the physical connectivity enough to require mitigation under CEQA, or does it actually have to be designated an evacuation route? And then second, you do have the county annex where SCC Parks did designate it as evacuation route for themselves, but yeah, so those are the two. Phrase that as a question. So understood. So that is an interpretation of the California Environmental Quality Act. Is the physical connectivity enough or not? And then the second one,
the connectivity of the flood control project or the Anderson Dam project.
There are roads for Holiday Lake Estates out down through Rosamond Park down to Cochrane that physically could be used if they were not obstructed. So that's the first question. It's a legal question under CEQA. So if you're not obligated to mitigate that because you say it's not designated an evacuation route, if some sort of legal designation as an evacuation route needs to be there in order to require mitigation under CEQA, that's the question I'm asking.
So I think,
A legal question.
we'll bring up Wendy. It's always good to have an environmental expert.
So Rosamond Park isn't an officially designated evacuation route and so under CEQA, what we're required to do is coordinate with CAL FIRE and Morgan Hill and county parks. And we have to let them know what we're doing and any impacts that we're gonna have on emergency vehicles' ability to access to deal with natural disasters, and also to let them know that if evacuation routes are impaired in any way, that there are alternative routes identified. And so that's why Rosendin Park isn't an official evacuation route. And then on top of that, we, like you were saying, in an event of an emergency, maybe somebody would go on foot. We don't want someone to drive that way. It's not a roadway, and they would be driving into an active construction site. There isn't a path that's clear that would clearly go down, with use by a car from the park. So, working with the local jurisdictions, we wouldn't want someone to try to go through Rosendin Park.
Okay. Thank you for that response. Here we go. Hold on. Let me bring the microphone to you because the people on Zoom can't hear you.
My name is Wade Roten. I'm a member of CERT, Community Emergency Response Team for the City of Morgan Hill and its predecessors. I've been a member for about 28 years. I think it was about 20 years ago, we held an evacuation exercise in Holiday Lake Estates, just a one-time shot. And we evacuated through Rosendin Park. It was only for walking. They had no intent on driving vehicles there. So I just want to point out that the City of Morgan Hill regarded that as an evacuation route for walking purposes at that time. So it seems reasonable to at least include that possibility in future plans when the construction is finished. This is a comment. I'm not an expert on Rosendin Park. I'm just telling you what I know.
So when construction is finished, that is an issue. It's so Rosendin Park will again, it will connect again to the dam and to all the picnic areas, and the trails will be reopened. It's during the construction period that they're stockpiling, and access to the very top of Rosendin Park for part of the construction time will be closed completely because it's an active construction site. So it's not a matter of following the project, it's just during those construction years where it's an active construction site, and it's not an official evacuation.
If I could just add to that just a bit, during construction, if there is a wildfire in the area, we would also be evacuating the construction site and leaving behind whatever we were working on. And there's periods of time where there will be explosives on site and fuel, things that are highly combustible. So there's no guarantee that there's ever going to be a safe route through there. I mean, I would encourage anybody to do whatever they need to do to be safe, but it's going to be pretty hazardous during the construction project.
Thank you, Ryan and Wendy. Additional questions on, here we go.
So there's 2 points. So you're saying that you've taken away the secondary means of egress out of the Holiday Lake Estates. Have you addressed how you can mitigate that to where there's going to be now a second egress point? Because now we're down to one. But then also, what has CAL FIRE taken into account the added impact of all the workers that will be staged there had an emergency happen during the daytime, or any of their shifts, added to the amount of residents plus the crews and people working there to get off the hill using the same egress?
So I can address the beginning. So Rosendin Park is not an official.
It's always the battery.
Still, I don't know, it's on and on. It's not an official evacuation route. And so we want to emphasize that it's, and so as part of CEQA, we do evaluate designated evacuation routes, and then through what it's going on and off.
Should we hold it closer to the dot?
Okay, so, through CEQA, what we do is anytime that we're gonna impact an area, like Ryan was saying, we're gonna have explosive materials, a ton of construction equipment, it's a giant project. We'll have, parts of the time Cochrane Road will be closed. So what we do from a CEQA perspective is we let the local jurisdictions know how we're impacting different areas. And then it's up to the local jurisdictions to identify alternative routes.
There's no, but not addressing any secondary egress out of holiday lane.
We could repeat that, so
There's, we're not addressing it secondary as egress routes. Yeah, there is, Rosendin Park is not an official, I understand that it could be used, but it's not an official, egress route. And so from a CEQA perspective, we have to address what local jurisdictions have identified as egress routes, what are officially designated, and work with them to offset impacts to those areas. And so there are a lot of different unofficial ways to get out of different places, and it puts us in a sticky spot if we start identifying ways to get out that aren't safe. We don't know. And so we leave it up to the experts and we work with them to make sure that our project is implemented in the safest way possible for your community to be able to leave, and also for emergency vehicles to be able to still access the site.
And the second question was it taken into consideration the influx of workers and crews working on the dam that will be up at the site working, and then it passed the egress, added personnel getting down the hill along with the residents? Has that been addressed?
That's part of what we do take into consideration, and that's part of what we let the local jurisdictions know as well. We let them know what roadways are gonna be closed, we let them know the number of construction crews, and it is our responsibility to identify emergency, access routes for the crews to get off the site too. There's different times when they're working pretty far up in the reservoir, in the stockpile areas, and so we've identified different escape routes for them as well. So yeah, that is considered, yes.
is there a safety officer on site during construction?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Like always, right, when there's. I think we have CAL FIRE here.
So, and I understand that that's everybody's main concern is that, but with more people there, obviously, we're gonna throw more resources on there, more aircraft or whatever we need to do to make sure that we don't, that we can get everybody out, and that's one thing, and I know I preach it to you guys all the time, and you guys already know this about, that's why we, like to do a lot of education on defensible space. If you guys go to our websites, there's always a ready for wildfire to be ready to be at any minute, especially now. We just last week had a 14,000 acre fire in our unit, and I wasn't on duty that day, but from what I understand, it went pretty fast. So I do totally understand your concerns, but one thing that we do have to work together as far as like the Firewatch community and yourselves is getting that defensible space and home hardening and doing some home hardening, so we're able to the most important thing is to get you out, but also to protect your homes. So I know I sound like a broken record, but that's what I can answer about that. We always have resources to help you. I'm available with emails. We're currently just got done doing our brush inspections for our fire hazard severity zones. So there'll be letters going out here in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully, it's a voluntary program, and hopefully, people we can start trying to prevent this by doing some prevention.
Terrific, let's, thank you. Let me bring it right up to you here. Do my Phil Donahue here.
Thank you. We have new construction going in next door to our property shortly. And my concern is, I just want to know if you as a fire department visits those sites, because I guess I have a concern that if construction is going on, it's more likely that there could be an accidental fire next door to us. So do you guys visit construction sites to see?
We have our fire prevention bureau that goes out and does their inspections. But when they're building a city Morgan Hill, there are certain requirements that they gotta meet when it comes to access and egress and the way they're building. So that's part of the process, is that they go out and they visit the sites. And then we have certain guidelines, as long as they meet our standards, they meet our standards. We have standards and anybody can look at the standards for new construction that's going on in the city. But there is visit by myself. Every weekly, we have a developmental review committee meeting. It's usually about businesses, but if there's something going on with, a new project that anybody has questions, they usually come to City Hall and talk to me or our building department. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. We got another one back here.
Yeah, so, I think we understand that Roosevelt Park's not an official evacuation. We understand that the CEQA, you only have to do certain things. We don't really care. What we care about is our safety. And best practices is obviously to make sure that we have alternate ways to get out in case of fire. We're all very aware that we live at the end of a long dead end road. We are doing our part, clear. Right now, we've got free chipping going on. I mean, piles of brush up there are huge that are coming out. We are doing our part to make sure we're safe. We expect the county to do its part to make sure that we have ways out on the fire, and just to follow rules doesn't cut it. It's not a question, it's just a statement.
Thank you for that. See another question? Oh, there he is. Okay. I'll get you next.
Maybe, sorry, it's just natural. COVID, I guess. Sure. So follow up to that statement, I guess, are there secondary routes that you would advise for residents to take? Wendy, I believe you had mentioned alternative routes for crew and workers, so curious for residents, maybe from Cal or others, what our options are, outside of East End Avenue.
Yeah, we identify routes for our crews, for the workers on site, but and like I said, I don't know why I can't do this. Hold it further. Oh, okay, so, yeah, so it's up to the local jurisdictions to identify alternative routes, just because we aren't specialists in that and it's not our jurisdiction. So we identify alternative routes to get off of our construction site so that the crews that are working on site are aware of how they can get away from the site. But I'm gonna turn it over, for the local jurisdiction.
So, can you guys hear me? If, for instance, if we did have a wildfire in the Jackson Oaks area, we would throw more resources at it. Throughout the year, we either low dispatch, medium dispatch, high dispatch. So last year, I myself, I'll give you an example. I had operational coverage for the city of Morgan Hill, just like I do right now. So if I had a fire up there, at that time last year, I know that I doubled up on the aircraft. So I know that it's a sensitive area and it's a more vulnerable area that we have in the city of Morgan Hill. So we will also throw more resources at it too. I hope that answers the question. The evacuation routes, the official evacuation routes are what you see. We won't determine any other evacuation routes other than what's already established.
So question over here.
My name's Nick Arnett, and I'm here as a resident of Holiday Lakes, but I'm also a wildland firefighter and a mitigation specialist with the U.S. Forest Service. And first wanted to thank Valley Water for participating in some of the FireWise educational events that we've done. and being a good partner, because I've certainly learned doing mitigation on wildfire, it only works if we all work in partnership together. And CAL FIRE, of course, Chief, thank you for all the help you've given. But I am a little confused about something from Valley Water's standpoint. Are you saying that the project has not increased our fire risk in Holiday Lake and Jackson Oaks? And so therefore, you're just gonna leave it up to CAL FIRE to figure out additional evacuation routes and so forth? Or are you saying that this project is impacting our safety and you're going to be assisting the local jurisdiction and others in mitigating that effect? So it's unclear to me whether you're saying, whether you're acknowledging that our risk has increased or not.
So we do, in the wildfire section of the CEQA document, we do identify the impact that we're having as a result of the project. And what we do from a CEQA perspective is we develop a transportation plan. And part of the transportation plan is identifying all of the different parts of our project that affect your ability to either, leave from the site leave from your neighborhood as a result of our project, or the ability for emergency vehicles to access the site as a result of what we're doing. And so we then work with the local jurisdictions to make sure that they understand the impact that we're gonna have, so that they can determine what needs to be done in order to determine the best way for the public to leave and for emergency vehicles to enter the site. And the reason is that we simply aren't specialists in that. We don't know the best way to get to the site or the best way to get out, and we definitely don't want to give you the wrong information. But what we do know is what we're doing to impact the area and what's going to happen in the different stages of construction. And so that's where we work with the local jurisdictions to make sure that they understand what our project is going to affect in the area. And then it's up to the local jurisdictions to identify alternative routes. So ways that we will work with the local jurisdictions is on our project website, alternative routes or measures that are identified can be publicly posted. We can put signs up around the construction area, so it's really clear how to move around the construction area in the event of an emergency. There's a lot of measures that are included in that transportation plan. And so that's what Valley Water does. So we work with the local jurisdictions, but we don't actually identify routes because we just simply aren't experts on that.
I think we have a follow-up.
Yeah, just to get this really clear. It was no surprise to anybody in this room, I think, that Roseland Park is not presently an evacuation route. But for the purposes of your analysis, do you acknowledge that it was a way to leave and you've had a substantial impact on the community because it can no longer leave that way? I mean, some of the residents have told me they used to have a combination to the lock on the gate there so they could drive out that road. We actually understand it can't be used now, right? But is it your position that it couldn't be used before and therefore you don't have to mitigate anything? Is that what you're saying?
So we can only address impacts to designated evacuation routes. We can't, like anything used in the past, unless it's an official designated route, we can't identify different ways that are different roadways that people use. All we can do is work with the local jurisdictions and what's been identified as evacuation routes, and then let them know in comparison to those what we're doing through our project, so that they can identify alternative routes if they're necessary or provide residents information. But we can't, unless something is officially designated as an evacuation route, we can't take it into consideration.
One more follow-up.
So, county parks. We saw this map that showed the words evacuation route going through Roseland Park. Can you explain what that was if it was not an official evacuation route?
Or CAL FIRE for them.
I can't say that it's an official one. Can you hear me? Sorry. All right, so it is on the map. It's you've been on the road. It's not much of a road. We need any kind of specific guidelines. I don't know if I'm interactive. Closer?
Yeah.
Opposite problem is windy here. Yeah, so the road's probably not up to any kind of standards for an evacuation road. I think it could be used in an emergency for emergency vehicles. I think if there were an emergency, we defer to the incident commander and figure out appropriate ingress egress.
Thank you for that. We have a question right here.
Yeah, if Valley Water is not responsible for an alternate evacuation route, who is? Who should we go to get another evacuation route?
So that's where you would coordinate with your local jurisdiction. So like I was saying, in Valley Water, we identify our impact and then we work with the local jurisdiction. So
Probably one of those people out there, right?
Well, so just a little. Just to answer the question, you can definitely work with the city of Morgan Hill, County of Santa Clara, both, right? So that when Holiday Lakes was developed, it was developed with the single access. Building another new roadway, because we have looked at this in the recent past, whether it's out of Holiday Lakes or Jackson Oaks from the opposite end, would take some significant coordination. It's something we can look at in the future with the city, both from the city in general. Carlos works for CAL FIRE, he also works for the city of Morgan Hill, he's a fire marshal. It's something we can definitely look at in the future, and the residents can discuss with the city, but it's not something we can make happen tomorrow, that's for sure. And it's very, very expensive to build new roadways. And the exit route would be outside the city of Morgan Hill in the county of Santa Clara. So there's some multi-jurisdictional partnership needs, but it's something your local government can work on. It doesn't mean it's feasible, but we can continue to work towards it.
It sounds like both. But we're here for the water district meeting, but the city of Morgan Hill said that, in response to your question, that, it's something that could be looked at. I'm not sure it's related to this project. Okay.
Let's say, no, it's not a responsibility provider. Yeah, I mean, we're being at that, we're asking the same question to Valley Water. It's not your responsibility, right? For an alternate route.
We rely on the local governments to, as Wendy said.
Oh.
Got the next question over here.
Okay, so let me just say it this way. I'm not expecting to build a road and thus to be able to drive off right in the fire. But I live at the end of Holiday Lake, and I would like to know if I have no way to go to East Dunn and I walk to Rosenden Park, and will I have a path all the way down, or will I incinerate halfway between the park and in Copper Road?
The trail is closed at the end of the road, and we may be blasting the hillside away during part of the project.
No longer, because of your project, an access point. That's what we need to mitigate.
Yeah, to answer the previous question, it would depend on what's happening during construction. There's a lot of different phases happening during construction. It depends on where the fire is coming from. Obviously, it's coming, through the site as well. Yeah, that wouldn't be a safe way to go. So it's hard to say, hard to answer that question, but potentially, yes. Potentially you could safely get through, but also potentially no.
Just a reminder, this is the Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit project to make sure that in the event of an earthquake, Morgan Hill isn't covered with water 25 feet deep. When it's full. Well, I mean, just a reminder. Let me come over here for a question.
I understand the trail is going to be closed, or is closed from Rosenden, the north end of Rosenden down to the construction site, but there was a fire up in Rosenden maybe 15 years ago. And the fire department was able to access into Rosenden off of Barnard Road. Separate trail, has nothing to do with the trail that you're talking about being closed. Why can't we use that one to either walk out or drive out if the fire department can use it to come in?
I'm not familiar with that access, but I will say that, even when we have fires in parks or forests or anything like that, we have fire engines that'll, you know, four-wheel drive fire engines that we put in, spots that we wouldn't want to take our own vehicles in. So we would do anything to get into.
Failure, got access, meeting position.
Excuse me?
Sorry, it seems odd that you're not familiar with that access into Roosevelt Park and Holiday Lake in the position that you're
Well,
in.
15 years ago, I wasn't here, but you just know,
There.
well, I guess what I'm saying is that wherever the fire is established at, we will find means to get in. So we all carry maps, we all carry, you know, my job as an incident commander is to set up an incident command post and pull up my map and make sure that everybody gets in. If we gotta use a trail, we would notify them by using trails. Hey, next coming engines, use this trail, get in, there's a good access point. But as far as official egress routes, I can't answer that because they're not designated official
I'm
egress
thinking you
routes.
might want to kind of check that out ahead of time, so you're not doing it last minute.
Well, we do have engine crews that know their first view pretty good. So if I was going to, in that area, I know that I would set up, we've got specific areas where we can set up. And then, depending where the fire's coming from, you know, it all depends where the fire's coming from, or how we're gonna get in.
There may be a different name for it as well, and that. No, we can't hear you on the Zoom, so I wanna be respectful.
So, I'm gonna put on my Firewise board hat. We looked at, that very route. It's not there right now. It shows on some maps, but Sean and I, went out there, flew it with the drone, looking for that. It doesn't exist right now. And I'm gonna say again, I am a wildfire mitigation specialist for the U.S. Forest Service, but I'm speaking here as a resident of Holiday Lake, and I got this question from the moment I moved in: who's in charge of creating the evacuation routes? And it's all of us. Nothing like this ever happens across this country unless everybody gets involved and we partner. That's why I started my comments by thanking these folks for being good partners and talking to us and participating in our educational things. So please come see me or Sean, or there's other Firewise board members here, because the only way it will ever happen, it's not because somebody up there is going to say, yeah, we're in charge of it. That's not how it works. It's partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. And it's wonderful to see so many people here. Hopefully we're not being too adversarial and we're building some trusted relationships by being in the same room together, because that's what all my training and experience have taught me. That's how these things get done. It's going to be hard and it'll take time, but that's how it will happen.
My name is George Crow. I live right at the end of Holiday, pretty much. And when I first moved here, 22 years ago, I worried about that. And I had a friend that lived right down across from the gate. And he had a key to that gate. And he said, yeah, that's the way out. Now, that wasn't an official way, but I walked it. Yeah, I know I could easily get a bolt cutter and go through that gate and drive down by the dam and out. And it's always been that way, and I always knew it was a way. And I don't know who officially or unofficially said it was a way, but I don't know who passed the keys out. But it was a way to get out, and it was the way I always knew. So what you're telling me is you're taking that opportunity away, whether it was official or not.
This is a temporary.
Can we come over there?
I understand that during construction, it behooves us to, all of us to be aware of that situation and the alternate routes. If there is a fire somewhere, the public officials that are orchestrating any evacuation will have to make adjustments at that time. So it makes sense that it's not a question that you guys can answer now. It's you guys need to communicate, continue to communicate with the other officials involved. So I appreciate that.
And that's what we're here for, absolutely. Another question in the back here. John, pass right by side.
The Holiday Lake Estates Board of Directors submitted 34 pages of comments on wildfires, and the Rosamond Park evacuation route was just one of them. There was all the stuff, you've taken away a huge lake that is adjacent to our homes, right? And that we made an argument for that based on expert evidence, how that increases the risk of wildfire propagation. It seems intrinsically obvious, right? You can even jump in the lake. When the lake is full, or when the lake is at the CEQA baseline from 2013, you can just run and jump in the lake. And CAL FIRE and the Paradise disaster movie, the CAL FIRE people are saying, yeah, their own staff were running in the lake because it's a better alternative to dying. So I think, obviously, we will get your responses to the 34 pages of comments, and I gave evidence for everything. I don't make stuff up. I mean, I worked with a land use attorney for 3 years on an HOA project, and this is the same thing. So we submitted 35 pages on wild pigs and about 35 pages on wildfires. And they're all with evidence, so I know you're going to respond to all that stuff. As a matter of law, I think you are wrong about this official evacuation route, whether that there is a CEQA test question whether it asks for official evacuation route. But the only thing that I know of designating done as an official evacuation route is that Dwight Wood drew a fire map back in 2016 and sent that out. And I don't think there was a formal action of the city council or what exactly constitutes an official evacuation route. The purpose of that CEQA question about asking official evacuation routes is don't do something so stupid that you ignore one that actually is, but it doesn't seem to refer to. I'd love to hear from your legal opinion what constitutes an official evacuation route. Does the city need to declare it? Does the county need to declare it? Is it just, yeah. So like that. And the second thing, I think the physical reality is going to prevail, and that you are making the situation more dangerous, not only through the hindrance of the route through Rosamond Park, whether it's called an evacuation route or not, and then all of the other means. Of course, CAL FIRE is going to do the maximum they can. I'm thrilled with that. But at the end of the day, you have expert evidence from CAL FIRE itself that's included in the 34 pages of comments, and from SCVWD environmental consultants that say that this lack of a secondary evacuation route is a major issue. It's the most serious issue in these communities, Holiday Lake Estates and Jackson Oaks. Also, I think I included in there that residents per evacuation lane. There's one of the news services did a study on that because it's not commonly tracked, and we're at 3,500 per evacuation lane. And the city of Paradise was around 1,000 per evacuation lane. So the situation is really dangerous in terms of getting off that hill. And we even showed you a picture of what it looks like for East End Avenue to be blocked by fire. So I think you should go back to your legal counsel, and I'd love to hear an answer as to why official evacuation route is relevant, and why that should take precedence over the physical reality that I think you are making the situation more dangerous. So I'd like to hear that.
Well, you definitely will get a response to those questions when the EIR is released.
I'll let them answer that, but I will say this. I was one of the first 15 people on the Paradise Fire, and I worked there for 18 years. I was one of the first people that was there in a pickup truck. And I will tell you this, I didn't hear anything, and I'm not trying to discredit what you're saying about people jumping in the lake. I would do whatever I can to save my life. But I will tell you this, when there's mass chaos, a lot of people don't want to follow the rules. So people are just gonna go wherever they go. So my job during the Paradise Fire was to lead some bulldozers into evacuation areas to put them in city buses to take them to the city of Chico. The reason we needed bulldozers is because there was burnt cars with burning bodies inside there. And we drove right by them. And I'm not exaggerating any of this. So and the reason I say that is because I truly, genuinely, sincerely understand your concerns. I truly do, because I lived it. I live 8 miles from Chico. So I totally understand what you're talking about. I wish I had a magic wand and was king for a day and could make it happen. I just generally, it just takes a lot of entities to do something like that. So I just, I wanted to make that comment to you, but I'll give the platform.
Yeah, so I think kind of to wrap this up onto another topic, but during construction, you physically will not be able to use this road. I just want to make sure that's clear. I'm glad this issue came up in such, so people here are listening, you residents that live there, you physically will not be able to get through there, most likely. I mean, like I said, the construction vary. After construction is complete, it'll be just like the way it's been, where if you've got a bolt cutter, so you can make it away. We don't endorse that, but that's the reality of the situation.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, we're gonna do the last question on this topic, and we're gonna shift over to Rosenden Park. Let me hold the mic. Jim Blessing, Holiday Lake Estates. Yes, you're not gonna be able to go through the park. That's exactly the concern. So then what, right? That's exactly the concern. What is the alternative? You're not gonna go through there during construction, period. So then what? Meanwhile, my question is, what is staging area 5? It's kind of a neighborhood there. There's some hills. I'm curious what's going to go on in there. That's done, if I can read it from here. And if done is the only way out, are we going to be further impacting accessibility of that by having any sort of major equipment things going on there? So that was a great question.
Yeah, do you want to come up and answer staging area 5? I believe it's just a parking area. It's San Pedro Ponds. Is that what it's called?
Go to the microphone.
Yes.
Okay. Because we have so many people working on site, that's the designated parking area for our construction staff. And they will be busting to the dam every day, 2 shifts. So it's just vehicle parking for our construction workers.
Where is that?
It's
I think it's I'm drawing blanks. Center. I don't think it's not ponds, it's just a big lot that Valley Water. But I can give you the cross streets if you want to.
Is it by the Cal Fire Station?
I can give you the answers.
We'll get that. So we're accurate. We don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but feel free to find me after the meeting and I'll be happy to tell you guys.
this is a critical topic, but we also want to make sure if anyone had the second largest number of questions came in, we're dealing with Rosenden Park. I think they might have been related to the topic we were just on, but we wanted to see if there were any specific questions about that. See one, right over. You gotta get the microphone so the folks on Zoom can hear you.
The fire marshal was talking about prevention and we're trying to all do our part, but the park isn't being maintained. There's dead trees, there's weeds. It's been overgrowth for the last 10 years. Who's gonna maintain it? Which agency? And when are they gonna start? The other area is the old marina that's in the middle of Holiday Lake. That's another source that hasn't been maintained. Is it Valley Water that took that area over, or is it parks? Those are the two questions.
Great questions. Start with the park.
I'll certainly your comments about the park back to our maintenance folks. Get back to you on that. And the other question.
The marina
Sorry, the marina property is under Valley Water's control right now, and eventually it will be transferred over to them, so they should be the ones maintaining that property.
Question was, when are we going to maintain that? Great comment, and we will.
So we'll take it back to our maintenance staff.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Yes, ma'am.
Could you discuss the water in the lake? You said one of the points there was that you were going to maintain water in the lake for fire mitigation. So would you discuss that in some way? It doesn't look like there's a lot of water there right now.
There still is a tremendous amount of water there, even though it doesn't look like much. The capacity of the reservoir is really big. So there's water maintained that can be used for fighting fires. And then Coyote Reservoir is also going to maintain water the entire time and is a secondary source of water throughout the entire construction period. So the entirety of Anderson Reservoir will never go dry throughout the entire construction period. So it will stay low, and that's for safety reasons. And then it'll start refilling, I think, in year 6 of the construction timeline.
If I'm not mistaken, it right now holds about 3,000 acre feet, which is as large as in Stevens Creek Reservoir when it's full. Just to put that in perspective, 3,000 acre feet is quite a bit. You come around to you.
All right, just a quick comment back on the marina, about maintenance of the vegetation. Marina, actually, Valley Water Utility have been maintaining that. Well, I live a couple of houses down, walk by it almost every day. For the last couple of years, there's been significant brush clearing, removal of dead trees, and then even just a couple of weeks ago, a dead tree went down and a crew was out there cleaning it up right away. So just a little bit of info there.
Thank you.
A little bit waiting, but they did a major brush clearing in there, which was, I think, reducing fire time.
We do ongoing vegetation management, but if it's, like you're saying, if you're seeing that it's overgrown, we'll take that back to our veg management unit and let them know.
Yeah, we have one back here, and then I'll come forward.
It's great to see partial opening of the park during construction, so thank you for not a full closure. I'm sorry if I missed the information, but I'm curious as far as what we could expect as far as blasting activities, as far as how frequent and when they're occurring, the duration of those activities.
Blasting activities are going to happen between 3 and 4 months of years 3, 4, and 5 of construction. So they won't necessarily happen in all of those years, but depending on, how the contractor is able to work out, the material needs and how the blast is going, those will be, I'm bad with my phone. Those will be the only times when blasting happens. So those 2 parts of the park that are within the construction area, those will be closed the whole time. But the areas that are dotted throughout and have the yellow, those will be open when we're not doing blasting activities. And then there'll be one loop of Rosendin Park that stays open the entire time. So we've looked at the blasting activities and worked with specialists to see when it's safe. And so this is the maximum, use of Rosendin Park that's safe for Holiday Lake Estates and the public throughout the construction window.
Come on up here.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that the water is not going to completely be drained out of the lake?
No. So it'll never be, it's low, it's dropped right now. It's going to drop one more level once we finish the tunnel. But no, it'll never go completely dry throughout the construction.
Okay, that's great, because I thought there was a road and there was going to be some dumping of material, which.
There are stockpiles all around the reservoir because it's drawn down. So there's more areas for trucks to move, and we for time reasons and purposes, in order to get the dam down and up, there are stockpile areas throughout the reservoir, but the reservoir will never go completely dry.
Okay, thank you. I'm really excited about seeing a bigger map of the park, so I'm interested to hear about the park, and I'm really excited that you said that some of this could be open regardless of blasting, so I'd like to.
Yes, there's a lower loop that's going to be established that it will be open the entire time.
We have a laser dot on that, I think. I don't know if we can zoom it, but he's gonna shine a dot on the, there you go. See the red dot?
There's a lower loop right here, right? Sorry, so Tiffany Chow also is doing environmental compliance. So this lower loop, these lower areas will be open the entire time. These areas will be temporarily closed during the blasting, where there's like the yellow and the red, and then just the red, those areas will be closed the entire time. So these in between areas that are the lighter yellow and red, those are the ones, and then this bigger route too over here. Those close for the 3 or 4 months of the years where blasting happens, but that lower, most thickly outlined loop will never close.
There will be lots of notice before blasting is going to occur.
And it'll be really clear which areas are open and which ones aren't. There'll be then safety precautions implemented.
All right, and we have a question on Zoom, and then we'll get to the rest in the room.
Will blasting only occur during the weekdays?
Yes. Yeah, there's restricted hours. The blasting hours. The blasting hours yeah, are only during the day and they're Monday through Friday. Yeah, we were blasting overnight.
This may be slightly cheating, but the live oak group picnic area, we love to walk our dog down there, and my husband was devastated when he went down and found that that part has been closed. The loop part, will that remain closed, or will that be open at least during part of it?
Live Oak will be closed.
That's the part on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, it will be used as a staging area, and so it will be closed throughout construction. It's going to be restored as part of the project. It'll be restored and enhanced after the project, but it's an access route to get vehicles and workers and materials onto the site to do the work, and so it will be closed throughout construction.
So that's from now until when?
2032.
That was not the answer you wanted, I'm sorry. But it's an accurate answer. Our goal is to make sure it's not longer than that.
Yeah, I have a question. I understand that you're gonna use the boat launch area as a staging area, correct?
Yes.
Now, what type of staging area? Is that gonna see heavy equipment rolling through there? Is that going to be, trades, parking? What type of staging area is that going to be? And if so, what type of impact do you foresee putting on the, residential roads coming in and out of there? I work in the trades. I'm well aware of all this stuff, so I know what kind of impact we have on neighborhoods.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Tim.
You're talking about the boat launch.
The boat marina in the Holiday Lake Estates, correct? Yeah, so that's primarily going to use that first year only to bring in equipment to construct some of those roads in the reservoir. And again, it's primarily used for year one. And in terms of road impacts, I think those are follow-on discussions with Holiday Lake Estates. We will be coordinating with Holiday Lake Estates to allow us to use that road. And again,
What's paying for the damage we maintain our roads?
I think those discussions we had, I guess that's the best I can answer. Right, I mean, as we and have these discussions with Holiday Lake Estates, we can discuss what type of equipment we're bringing in, and then we'll go from there.
So you have money set aside to repair our roads because of the impact that you're about to put through on our neighborhoods? Is there money set aside to mitigate the problems of you guys coming in and out of our neighborhoods on our roadways? Is there anything put aside for that, or?
I don't think that has budgeted, like, I mean, we don't know, we haven't had a discussion with Holiday Lake Estates yet, so we just have to have those.
Yeah, there's no funding for it as of right now, is what you're saying.
There will be.
Okay.
One more back here.
I have just one question about the equipment coming in and out of the old marina. Is it a matter of moving the equipment in there one time and then it'll remain there for the time it's needed to do the work it's gonna do and then taken out? Or is it an in and out daily of the equipment?
We envision it primarily to bring in heavy equipment at the beginning and get heavy equipment out. Most of the materials that will come in is actually gonna go through Cochrane, through the dam. But it's just so that we can mobilize some equipment to start cutting, like, developing some of those stockpile areas and roadways that start like roughly where the marina is, all the way toward the dam.
The roadways you're talking about are inside
The in reservoir roadways. Yeah, so it's just primarily to bring in the heavy equipment. And then again, material, like and most materials will be coming through Cochrane. Yeah, so it's not really envisioned as.
It's not gonna be a daily thing.
It shouldn't. I mean, like, again, I'm not saying it's gonna be one day at the beginning, one day at the end, right? It may be phased in, but it's primarily to deliver equipment, that more so than deliver materials.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great question. Any other, I see one on that side. Getting a workout here.
Hey, so I just want to follow up on when do you guys plan to bring those equipment thing in, and like when you plan to have a discussion with the Holiday Lake community? I'm on the board of the community, so I just wanted to know.
Yeah, so we can start the initial conversations, but really it's gonna be up to the contractor that we select in 2026 and exactly when those dates are gonna be, and what equipment it will be, and how often, and the frequency, and all those details. But, you know, I'm glad the comment came up, so we can, you know, give you the heads up that this is coming. But we will talk to you, you know, as much as you want, so we can reach out and set something up and kind of give you what our take is now, but really all the details won't come until later.
Thank you. Any other questions on park impacts? All of these slides from this presentation are on the project page as well, so you can review them, blow them up, print them out, frame them, whatever you would like. Any questions on Zoom, Gianna? Okay. All right. Just a quick time check. We are 7:42, and the next topic that came up during the prior meeting involved, let me make sure I say this right. Involves the drill bits. And so, any questions about that from anyone in the room? I had a feeling. And John would like to say a few things first. Does that microphone work?
All right, see if I can make it work. Yeah, first of all, I just want to acknowledge that we have heard you on the pigs. We do acknowledge that they are a problem, that they are present. But we also want to acknowledge that this is a much bigger problem than just your neighborhood. And so it's a statewide issue. It's a very challenging issue. And we are evaluating all of your comments. We're looking at all the alternatives you've proposed. We are going to respond in full. And we're also talking with regional partners to see what can be done on a regional scale, because this is not a solution that can be, it's not a problem that can be solved in one location, right? These pigs move around. They're very fertile, and it is a much larger problem. So we do want to acknowledge the issue and just let you know that we are having conversations with other regional entities about possibilities that can be done down the road. So
thank you for
I'll
that,
just start
John.
with that.
In the room, let's go back here. Okay, I got you.
Hey, sorry, so can you elaborate a little bit on statewide issues? Do you mean like there are other dams that you're working on or across the state that have this issue? Because it's very specific to this area, right? Because it's very clear it's crossing the mountain where the water is drained. So I'm a little confused on that statement, if you can like elaborate a little bit to give us some context. What do you guys look at to conclude it's a statewide issue?
Well, we've talked to multiple agencies that are dealing with this. There are multiple jurisdictions and large landowners such as open space authorities, et cetera, that are all dealing with feral pig issues. So that's what I mean. I mean, the feral pig issue in general in California is a statewide issue. I'm not talking necessarily about the specifics of this condition, but this is a large issue.
Thank you, John.
Rich Camp, I have a lakefront lot on the lake itself, right where the mud hole now and the creek begins. I have seen as many as 50 feral pigs forming up on the creek as evening comes, and then they migrate across into Holiday. Now, I know it's totally a coincidence, and I know it's a big conspiracy that they're doing this. I'm an experienced hunter. I have sent a letter to you in February saying I would be willing to trap and kill many of those pigs. I got a polite letter back saying it ain't your problem. So you're saying all these agencies are working on it, but they aren't. It's your problem. You're the one that drained the lake. I see the pigs coming across the creek, literally walking across the creek and into Holiday, as well as other areas. I've been to the park. I counted as many as 18 pigs there that are coming. So it is a problem that Valley Water has, but you are not addressing. If you would do something like I'm suggesting, you could take care of a lot of the problem and a lot of the headaches that I'd say the majority of the people in this room are witnessing, but you're not addressing them. Please do so.
So you're absolutely right. This is a problem statewide. It's not it's a problem worldwide. They're in Berlin, they're in Rome. If you do Google searches on websites, they're all over the place. You get the impression that pigs are everywhere except Antarctica. However, they have a unique propagation mechanism in this area. And your draft EIR comment notes that there were over 1,000 pigs on the east side of the lake. Let me explain to you what happened. Actually, to demonstrate it. So, I'm gonna be on the east, I'm a 1,000 pigs on the east side of Lake Anderson, you're gonna drain the lake. They are drinking from the east side of the lake. As you drain the lake, the shoreline begins to retract. In order to get their tongue into the water, they have to keep moving as this lake is drying up. And you can see they keep moving as the lake is drying up. It's the same as if John Morella came and pushed these pigs into Holiday Lake. That's what that video shows you. If you look at the video, the 3-minute video of the thing flying over Lake Anderson, those pigs are all over the place in that lake bed. And that was previously physically impossible. They cannot survive 20 feet underwater. So to say that the draining of the lake had nothing to do with the wild pig invasion of Holiday Lake Estates is egregiously, seriously wrong. There's nothing more to say. I wish you'd play that video. We could comment on that. I'm surprised that everything is still so abstract. Yes, it's a problem everywhere, but you guys can trap and kill those pigs in the lake bed. You need to modify one of the county ordinances for regarding using a gun on valley water property, but you guys created the ordinance to prohibit it. You probably at your behest, and the county could change that, except as provided by the Valley Water Board of Directors. No gun shall be used on valley water property. You can craft legislation that'll do that. And I think you'll be very effective at it, because that's really the only water in this area. The other thing I would say to it, if you're not gonna do it for the human beings, do it for that wild trout species, Omicus. You've got an enormous concentration now of fecal coliform flowing through that water. It has to be math, right? You increase the number of pigs, you decrease the amount of surface of the water. The fecal coliform concentration has to go up. So it would be the most brutal irony after all of this machinations that we go through, and you spent millions of dollars on these steelhead trout species, but wind up killing the trout species because the problem was neglected. This particular location on planet Earth, Holiday Lake Estates, that hill area is unique. We gave you evidence that this was not happening previously. There's 34 pages of evidence there. It's all verifiable. I've got board minutes from Holiday Lake Estates back to the 1960s. If you want to go back to the 1960s, we can go all sit there and read board minutes together. This particular problem is unique to this particular area. Your draining of the lake caused this particular problem.
George Crow again, and by the way, that was great. And like, I've lived here 42 years, and 3 things have happened since you started your project. One was, I can't get out of Roosevelt to get out in the way of a fire, which I used to be able to do. Number 2, I never saw a pig around my house until you do. Now they're running all over our property. Luckily we got rid of them. And number 3, this is a lesser issue, but I used to walk in that park all the time. Now I don't know when I can, haven't been in there a long time, but I mean, that map I know by heart in my head. So you have effectiveness. And when you start saying, well, it's a broader issue, Lord, none of this happened until you started the project. And I don't know what your responsibility is or isn't, but that's a fact, and I don't know what they're going to do about it.
Thank you for that. Here. Yeah, before I moved to Holiday Lake Estates, I lived at Summit Point up in Milpitas. It's a similar situation, the community up in the hills and the park behind. And they had a big problem also. The difference was that there was a golf course there, and they would send the homeowners association would send out a letter every year to say, people complain about the deer eating the vegetation.
pigs causing problems, so they'd send out a letter. And the response was always the same, it's like, leave the deer alone and shoot the pigs. But the difference was that there was a golf course there. So when the pigs would come down and they rode it till the golf course had a simple solution, they just hired the ex-cops from Milpitas to go up the hills and shoot them, so we didn't really have a problem. So I don't understand why that can't be done.
You know, our golf work back.
Hi, I live on Blue Jay, one of my neighbors, I do too, right across from her. We have a problem with piglets and very angry adults. I live across the street from the school bus stop. I lived there for 10 years, we had a school bus stop for 10 years. There are children getting out of these buses. We have called sheriff's departments and wild game departments, whoever. Everyone says, not a problem until someone's hurt. Who is gonna protect these kids? Who's gonna protect us? I had a pig go after me when he was protecting his pigs. I don't know how many people are doing that or how many people are affected by it, but we thought they were harmless until one went out.
Right, so you acknowledge you have a problem with the pigs. What have you done, if anything, to start mitigating the problem with the pigs? Not only are the pigs tearing up our houses, now they're into the trash. They are knocking over our trash. Now you're creating a hazmat impact in our neighborhoods. So you've got, it's compounding. It's gonna take somebody to get hurt seriously until you guys react, and then you're gonna be in trouble that way. So I suggest you seriously look at this and start mitigating the problem.
It's me again. I hear shooting pigs, that's not the way to do it. Pigs can propagate much too fast. The proposal I made to the water district to trap them on water district property, having no onus on what happens with holiday, is trapping. The trap I would use is called a pig break. It can trap 35 pigs per night. So you bait the traps, the pigs come in, you condition them to coming in, the little net is dropped, pigs come in, 25, 30 pigs in that trap at one night, 25 caliber or greater, you dispatch the pigs, put them in a truck, put them in a hole and bury them. So there's not gonna be wholesale shooting going on Holiday or Jackson Oaks. This is a device that's 40 feet in diameter, it's a net, pigs go in it, they're dispatched and hauled away. So it can be done easily. The golf course at Coyote Hills had 168 pigs killed there in that method. When they were rototilling the thing. So it can be done. It's a simple process. Get a video, watch it, pigbreak.com, and you'll see how easy it is. I sent that very thing to you folks, and you said, thank you very much, not our problem.
I think we're all, very concerned about the invasion of the pigs, but my question was on the east side of the lake, where it's gonna be dry, you're gonna be making the stockpiles. Is there any plan to put some sort of fencing to, number one, protect your equipment and everything that's down in the lake? And the lake bed, and number two, couldn't that fencing also serve as a deterrent for even more pigs coming across? I know we'll have to deal with what we have in the neighborhood currently, but there's a big stockpile of pigs up there, so they're gonna continue to come. Is some sort of physical barrier on the other side of the lake a possibility?
I can't say that we have been, we have heard you and we appreciate all this additional input, and we have been evaluating lots of alternatives, including the pig break. We had our own staff attend workshops with that company to understand that methodology. So we have been evaluating these things, including physical barriers. I think the extent that what we've heard from other experts like USDA Wildlife Services, who kind of does this sort of work, is that the amount of fencing that would be necessary to cover the whole edge of the lake would probably not be feasible, just because the pigs, it's just such a large area. So, those are the sorts of things that we are evaluating in our response to your SQL comments, yes.
But also protect your.
A couple more and then, Mayor Turner would like to wrap us up, so.
Hey guys, so I get it, right? You guys care about this issue. You say you heard us. You're over there, we're all bitching down here. I'm on the board too and I join and I have the same feeling. People show up, we don't understand the work behind and sometimes they complain, right? But I think what I'm trying to get at is that I joined the board for a reason. And one of the reasons is I saw all these damages that the pig does to our community. And I just felt like I need to do something. But you guys haven't responded a lot to the room about what is it that kind of hold you guys back from not really listening and taking into consideration a lot of this input. Is it the budget? Is it legal issues? I know from our board perspective, when I went back and looked at the historical attorney letter, right, which is like you can't really use firearms. They're just too much liability. You can trap, you can put fence. I heard that you guys spent $3 million to move a species of plant to the Mervyn Lake to somewhere else that was a lot of land that you guys bought just to preserve that. So I mean, this impacts human beings and it's just our quality of life, our property values. How much is it that the fence gonna cost, right? Are we talking about $5 million, $10 million? I just need some more context because just saying we're working on it, I just feel like it's just make people feel uneasy, like maybe share a little bit more about what you guys are doing. Some of the roadblocks, who you guys need to talk to. Is there someone in particular that like hold you guys back from trying to help more of the community? I think that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I acknowledge that my answers are probably not very satisfactory, and you're probably not gonna get it at tonight's meeting, just to be quite frank, because this is a very complex issue. It's a very complex issue for our agency, who doesn't necessarily deal with these sorts of wildlife control issues on the regular. And also, as staff, we are in a position where, we're still responding to your SQL comments, and so we're still in an open SQL comment period, so, we have to be careful about that. And also, we don't want to get out ahead of our board members. Our board members are going to be the ones ultimately making these decisions. So I can't get up here and say, we're going to do this, we're not going to do that, because that's ultimately the board's decision. We are taking your input, we are taking it seriously. We are coming up with what we think will be a logical response to it. And then it's up to our board then to consider that. So I think that's. Yeah, I think when Wendy had the final EIR schedule, so we will have a detailed response to all the 35 pages of comments at that time. And then there'll be a period for you to be able to evaluate that. And then that will ultimately go to our board members for them to either approve or disapprove.
Buck stops here with me. So listen, we have an issue here. I've heard your comments. I'm very sensitive to your concerns. And the person in the back that said, who do I speak to? You speak to me. I'm your representative. We have board members that are online tonight, so listening to this. We understand the concerns. I live here. I live up on the hill. I live here in the valley. But nonetheless, we are all community. And I'm your elected representative. I'm always available to meet with you. Any place, anytime, I'm here for you. I've not heard from any of you to sit down with me and discuss. I've heard from others with other issues that they have, but none of you have communicated to me. So I'm open, I'm available, communicate to me, and I will bring your issues to our board for discussion, and we'll find solutions, hopefully. With your input, with our collaboration with the community, hopefully we'll come to some solutions together. So hope to hear from you.
Thank you, Director Earl. I think I heard one takeaway from that meeting. One last question in the back, and then we're going to hear from Mayor Turner.
Is Valley Water admitting that draining the lake has caused the feral pig problem, or are you still saying that it's not your fault?
Okay, I'll comment on that real quick. If I can. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Turner.
Honored to be here, and thank you all for being here tonight. I think it's so important. Where would you like me to stand? Over here? Okay, I think it's so important for all of you to come out as you have, in order to express your concern and ask your questions. I can tell you we have a great working relationship and partnership with Valley Water. We're grateful for the work that they're doing, and I understand, really, I do understand the frustration that you're feeling. I'm sitting here tonight and I'm feeling the frustration for you just based on some of the questions that seemed very difficult to answer, to some of the very basic and easy questions that you were asking. So I would, as mayor and working with these different agencies, some things that I would like to see, and maybe this could be helpful. And while I ask them, it may not be that easy to get the information, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And one is that we would be able to work together as organizations and agencies in order to clarify for you emergency evacuation routes, paths, understanding, whatever that might be, even if there's only one way out. You need to know what that is. So we'll be working together, and I appreciate John, because John and I work very closely together. He and I meet almost monthly, have conversations about Anderson Dam and other critical water projects going on in Morgan Hill. So number one, evacuation routes. Number two, again, it's about these pigs. And what I would look for from these agencies here is coming back, whether to this group here tonight or to the city council, to help us understand three options that you're going to suggest in dealing with a reduction of these pigs. Someone said dispatching them. That's a great word for eliminating them. And I think whatever that might be, we need to find something that is satisfactory to our residents whose homes are being damaged and safety is at risk. So I think it's important that our residents feel as though there is, and I get it, we have all heard you and understand the concern and frustration you have. And I'll be working on your behalf to make sure that we have some answers that are satisfactory to you, as best we can to get those answers and have them, again, just so that you have the knowledge that's necessary and that we can provide information that may be helpful, especially related to these pigs. Again, thank you all for being here tonight, and I appreciate the Water District coming out. It's not easy, and other agencies as well. It's a lot of heat that they have to take, but who was it that said politicians, what is it? Something about until they feel the heat. They don't see the light until they feel the heat. And so we appreciate you coming out and expressing your concerns and questions. Thank you so much.
I neglected to, we had some folks on Zoom that had questions. I'm gonna
Get back.
if you submit your questions in the Q&A portal so that we can respond to you. If you put your email on there, that would be helpful. And again, this recording will be up, but the community liaison for this project is Gianna Escobar. I'm off talking in the dark. I'll come back on camera. Sorry about that. But I want to thank you all, presenters and panelists, for your work, and the attendees who participated and shared. This is a great turnout from this community. And you know, we have right now our water supply master plan, which is Valley Water's guiding document for long-term investments and planning to ensure water supply reliability for the county's social, economic, and environmental well-being. We have information that's available. This is how, when you turn on the faucet, that we have water. As this project moves forward, we'll continue to keep you informed with regular updates to the project webpage at valleywater.org, postings on Nextdoor, mailings, and of course through our public meetings and emails. So when you sign in and you give us your email address, we're going to add you to the list to get information about this project. There are still new residents moving in that maybe don't know there's going to be a big construction project here. And so we want to continue to let them know and get the word out. So good night, and next time we will see you soon.